What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Backstage at Open Highway podcast. I'm your host, John Henry. This is episode 26. Chatted with Truman Kennedy, an experimental bluegrass artist here in St. Louis. He is many things, but that is one of the things, and that's what his newest project is. We talk about that. We talk about our college days. We knew each other down at Mizzou, or west at Mizzou, as it were. So that's a good interview, good information, cool guy, really cool music. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. I wanted to just take a second here to pay tribute to Gary Elgin, who passed away from cancer over Christmas break. He was a really good guy, came to a ton of shows, super supportive of Americana, rock and roll, open highway, independent venues, independent bands. He and his partner Joanne were at like every show, and sometimes they would show up like with the artist, like the most high level of access ever, hanging out. So they were cool, and he will be missed. So I just wanted to take a few minutes here at the beginning to pay tribute to him and wish him well wherever he is. Hope you enjoyed this interview with Truman Kennedy on the Backstage at Open Highway podcast.
Over here.
Truman Kennedy is joining us here today on the Backstage at Open Highway podcast. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Good to be here. Thanks for having me, and it's good to see you again.
Yeah, I feel like we've known each other since 2005 or 6, maybe. Way back.
We're right at 20 years.
Mizzou days.
Crazy.
You were super active with the college Dems or
Yes.
some affiliated organization. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember the Blue Fugue.
A lot of time spent there at the Blue Fugue and doing open mics on Monday nights, working the door there.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
The folks here listening, there's a great club down in Columbia called the Blue Fugue, Columbia, Missouri. We both went to Mizzou, so we were down there a lot, and I would tend bar on the Mondays and run the open mic, and then I'd get to book a lot of the shows at the club. That's kind of how I got my start. And you were one of the it was like Cheers. You were one of the Cheers guys in the bar, in the club.
Definitely hanging out there too much.
Yeah.
Had to walk away after a little bit there. Definitely working the bar, working the door on a Monday night while you're trying to go to college is not the best for your grades.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a different open mic. I feel like a lot of the open mics I go to now, it kind of peters out toward the end, but you had several different bands closing out the set there, and so that bar would be packed. It would be at capacity almost every Monday.
Yeah, so Mondays were like Saturdays. It was unbelievable, and it was there was a lot of really good shit. Like the Hoot and Hollers got their start
absolutely
kind of in that time frame. And I see those guys from time to time when I say what's up, and we always reminisce about those days. But it was like a 250, 300 cap room, and it could just for like big show, you could sell it out, you could pack it, and then if there was like 100 people there, it still felt like you were the Beatles. So it was like
for sure.
It was a really good spot to kind of learn how to play live and just have a lot of great times back in the day.
Yeah, that's what I was definitely doing that working out all the jitters, playing the open mic there, and getting used to being solo on stage without a band. It's a whole different thing, and keeping the lyrics in your head while you're trying to play.
Yeah, it was a good spot for that, and there was like a lot of collaboration. It was just a good scene of people there for quite a while, actually. I really enjoyed that period of time, and I mean, I remember like painting some of the walls inside the venue just to make it look, a little newer, and but there's just a feel to it that was great. I miss that
Needs a
spot.
lot more than a coat of paint for that, but
Yeah, and I think it's a travel agency now.
oh really?
Or that's what it was. So that
What
shows
happened
you.
to they had the pirate ship sound booth,
Yeah.
like you had to crawl up into and like crouch
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. 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 You'd do like, it was like Catholic mass where there was like a kneeler that you had to like kneel to fit in the booth the whole night. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it's like a
glad I
16
didn't
channel
work sound.
board. Yeah. Yeah. What a bunch of good times.
Yeah.
I was just showing my kids some pictures I have from there. Like we did Halloween's there, dressed up in a monkey suit, Top
Oh
Gun.
yeah.
Uh, we
hmm
did we did party tuxes. Good
New
times.
Year's Eve,
New Year's Eve.
several of those. Every holiday, really,
Yeah,
every
it was a
major holiday.
blast. It was a blast. Well, you got a
Yeah.
new project, man. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been something I've been working on for a while. After I left Columbia around 2012, I moved down to Little Rock, Arkansas, and went to graduate school and lived in Little Rock for about 8 years. Played with some different bands, started writing more songs, and this project kind of came out of that. I had I had a trio going down there in Little Rock. We were called the Kim Trailblazers at the time,
Nice.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. That's a good band
uh,
name.
yeah, for sure. We're a little. It was more acoustic back then too. Acoustic trio, mandolin, fiddle, and bass. I played some guitar too. Um, and so I had a good set of songs going at the end of 2019 and was ready to get into the studio and started recording some stuff, laying down the basic tracks with my bass player at the beginning of 2020. Got a few other players in there before everything shut down.
Yeah, that was fun.
And yeah, ended up moving back up to Missouri, and we just, pandemic happened, and we literally headed for the hills and lived back in the middle of nowhere in southeast Missouri on my dad's farm. My wife and I,
Nice.
and avoided people for 2 years.
Yeah, you're from down that way, right? That's what I remember.
Yeah, I grew up in Poplar Bluff.
Okay, cool. Cool, yeah. Yeah, that's super hilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, since when I would see you and we'd hang out and we'd, play shows together, you were primarily handling it on an acoustic guitar. What was the configuration for this lineup? How did you approach the recording?
Uh, there's a whole lot of stuff on this
Yeah.
album. I it was really track by track. Like I said, I was planning it out for Little Rock at first, and so I had a few players with me who knew the songs that we had rehearsed and played live, and so we were going into that and got some initial stuff done. But it was far from finished by the time I picked it back up here in St. Louis. So, wife and I moved up here at the end of 22, and another friend of mine from Arkansas, Willie Krasinski, he's from the Fayetteville area. He had moved up here in 21 and started his studio up here, Extra Plus Productions. And so I had to rebuild a band, meet some new players, figure out where this was going to go. So luckily I knew some folks up here
Yeah.
from my time at Mizzou and the greater Missouri bluegrass scene as
Yeah,
well.
right.
And so yeah, I was getting back to it. And of course, we've got speaking of the Hoot and Hollers, Kelly Everett's playing saxophone
Oh, awesome.
on
Yeah.
three of my tracks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
she's
got
great.
everything from saxophone, synthesizer, pedal steel. It's a wide ranging Americana album with a lot
Yeah.
of different stuff going on.
Yeah, like I was listening to the single Call of the Wild, or at least
hmm
the first single. And
Yeah.
I was just writing down some words that I would use to describe it as I was just listening.
hmm
And the sonic you have traditional Americana stuff with it
hmm
and some unique melody. I love the textures of the guitar solo that was on that, where it was like a radio coming out, and
Oh,
I thought that was a
thanks.
good
That's
mixture with the kind of depth of the acoustic elements of it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's actually an electric mandola.
What is
So
what is even that?
mandolin is to violin as mandola is the viola. So it's tuned to fifth
I
down,
got you. I got you.
CGDA. So basically the same thing. It's a Kent 836
Okay.
electric mandola, and something I'd been looking for a long time. A big Ry Cooder fan, and I
Nice.
saw
Yeah.
him with one of those in like a fretboard journal or something like that, and I was like, ooh. I need to get me one of those. So 6 years later, I finally found one just in time for this project, and made that happen. So yeah, that song, that was probably one of the newer songs that I wrote for this project, kind of right before we started recording a few years ago. So it never got a chance to get played out live and kind of work out the kinks and stuff
Right.
like that. So it was really a studio project. And I think, as you can tell, that came through on the
No, yeah,
recording.
it's cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on, just chopping up the drum parts and putting them back together, and yeah, putting a lot of different textures on there from synthesizers. Another thing I used throughout the album, I played baritone guitar on several tracks
Oh, cool.
and
Yeah.
had a Nashville strung guitar on that as well. So it's
Little
providing a
candy. Little
real high
candy.
end,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, little
Sweeten
jingle.
everything up.
Hmm.
Are you a big Rycooter guy?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I got struck with that bug around 2011, and yeah, listen to him all the time. Cover a lot of songs. Try to do the way he did
Yeah.
in different ways,
Yeah, I'm
because
not
he's
the
mostly interpreting songs himself. So it's just a
right.
different field of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with him as you are, I would imagine, but I was listening to a Stones podcast the other day,
Oh
and they
yeah.
were talking about his importance of like the five string and the open G tuning for Keith Richards, which is,
Right.
Keith Richards' kind of major contribution in terms of guitar playing, I'd say would be like the open tunings and bringing that into the mainstream.
Yeah.
But he was
Absolutely.
behind a lot of that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. He did that, and he's just a real interesting. He's Ry Cooder's just played every kind of music there is,
Yeah.
and worked with all sorts of musicians from India to Cuba. That was a big project in the '90s, the Buena Vista Social Club.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Taj Mahal. He started his career with Taj Mahal, and then they just did an album a year or two ago together for the first time in 50 years. So it's really cool to see that come full circle. So yeah, I always tell people just start at the beginning of his discography and work your way forward. That's all my recommendation for anyone wanting to get into Ry Cooder. So and you can follow his musical journey. I think it's the most approachable way to get into all that. Not to mention, he's played on dozens of other albums for other artists, and done a lot of soundtracks too for different films. So most notably Paris, Texas, probably the one he's
Nice.
most known for. Yeah.
Who are some
So
artists?
anyway, if you want to
Yeah,
start a Ry Cooder podcast, I guess this
yeah,
is episode
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. We'll go to square one here.
Yeah.
Who are some artists that are inspiring you? It doesn't matter what genre, or it doesn't matter what medium, but
Sure.
who are some
Yeah.
things that
I
are
mean, growing up, I wanted to be a drummer, and did that through school and jazz band and marching band and stuff like that. My dad had always played bluegrass too, and I kind of, I'm like, yeah, that's your old fuddy duddy music, dad.
right?
And we'd go to these little festivals, and there wouldn't be any kids there, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then, but around the time, I got into band, it's just my musical appreciation exploded, and realized that bluegrass is operating on the same level as like a jazz band if it's done well. Everyone's got a rhythm part, everyone's got a melody part, and you're listening, you're staying out of each other's way, trying to play. It's not just fast and loud as you can. There's a lot of jam type bands that are just
Yeah,
thrash up there, but if it's done right, you can control your dynamics and
a lot of
do a lot of
space.
interesting
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah. So, that's what I picked up the mandolin around junior high as well, and just kept going with that after high school. It's a lot easier to travel with a mandolin. You can stick it in the overhead of an airplane. Like for instance, I took it to Uganda when I was in grad school, and the founder of that school I was working at over there, a school for former child soldiers called Hope North. He's actually a choreographer and a musician himself, and you could see him. He's got a small part in the movie Last King of Scotland. He did the choreography for that movie.
Oh, that's an awesome movie. I love that
Yeah,
movie.
for sure. Yeah,
Scary.
yeah, yeah. And so anyway, I got to sit in with his band and stuff when I was over there. So it's definitely a lot easier to find a place to fit in
Yeah,
with a mandolin.
a
Yeah,
little bluegrass to sub-Saharan Africa.
yeah. It was definitely an experience.
That's
to get
funny.
into
Like,
that. But yeah.
yeah, you know, obviously music is so universal, but I wonder, like, what the prevalence of mandolin on that continent even, would be.
I was
Is
joking at the time that I was the best bluegrass mandolin player in the country. That country, of course, was Uganda.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, take what you can get.
yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. Mandolin. So, say the one again that you recorded that solo with.
A mandola, electric mandola.
Mandola.
Yeah.
Okay. So is
Hmm.
that smaller then?
It's a little bit bigger, a little
A
bit
little bit
bigger.
bigger. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got that
Um,
sorted out.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. And don't even get me started on mando cellos.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
There's
It's a
like a whole
thing.
family.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's cool. What are you excited about coming up here?
Yeah. We got some dates coming up. I've got a band together, the Unstoppable Bucks, kind of a play on, Harry S. Truman, the buck stops here. Well, the buck doesn't stop here, folks. These bucks just keep on going.
They just keep
And
going.
we play all night. January 24 at the Hi Hat Lounge in Soulard. We'll be there doing a long set. And hopefully this weekend, if there doesn't come a blizzard to Texas and Little Rock, I'll be back down to Little Rock at the legendary Whitewater Tavern. That's Saturday, January
Very
11th.
cool.
And yeah, looking
Yeah.
forward to get back there. Seeing a lot of good friends, and that was the Whitewater Tavern was my blue fugue of Little Rock
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
I think that the Lucero guys and John
Oh
Moore
yeah,
have some roots there, right?
oh yeah. I saw John Moreland there a lot. So yeah, it's you never know who's going to come through those doors. And especially now post COVID, they've got some new ownership. Doing a lot to the building and getting it up to where it should have been a long time ago. And they've just been bringing some crazy players through there. They're drawing on Little Rock's kind of like a crossroads between Nashville and Austin. People are coming through there, Dallas,
Hmm.
but then you've got like the Oklahoma Red Dirt, and you've got
Yeah.
the Delta
Yeah.
Blues. You've got people coming north out of New Orleans. Everyone's stopping in at the
Yeah.
Whitewater Tavern. So
Texas
if you,
country coming up,
yeah,
like, yeah, and yeah, that's sort of like a mini I don't know what the equivalent would be like, I guess Bluegrass has the station in, but
sure,
Whitewater Tavern's kind of like a Americana
yeah.
rock and roll songs, heavy hitter, singer
Right.
songwriter hang.
Yeah, kind of like a juke joint, but you never know. I mean, there's metal shows that happen there too. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah, that's
guarantee you
cool.
stop in there any night that it's open, you're gonna have a good time if you ever find yourself down in Little Rock.
Yeah,
Definitely
highly
see
recommend
what's
that.
going on.
I think Little Rock's like a sleeper good town too.
Yeah, it was it was a nice place to live for a few years, and we really loved it there. Made some good connections, some good friends, and definitely miss it from time to time. But it's been fun living up here in St. Louis too. Grew up in Missouri, but never lived
Right.
in St. Louis until the last couple of years here.
Where are you guys at? What
And
part?
we're kind of right on the edge, Holly Hills, Carondelet, South
Oh,
City.
cool. Cool,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
a couple blocks from the park, and so yeah, it's been nice, and found a new group of musicians and stuff to play with, and looking forward to doing a lot more here in 2025 and seeing y'all out there. We've got the vinyl record out, Werewolf Mask. It's streaming on all the platforms, and you
Look
can
at you're a pro. I was going to ask you
I
this, and now
know.
you're just rolling. You're seamlessly segueing into this stuff.
Yeah, and you
Go
can
ahead,
find out more
do the whole
information
spiel.
at
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
give us it all. Lay it on us, baby.
trumankennedy.com. I got a website, got a website. My lovely wife Ashley does design. She designed the album cover and did a great job with that, and helps me keep the website going and the social media graphics, Truman Kennedy Music, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Those sorts of things. Keep up to date right there.
That's great. We're happy to have you on behind the scenes. This was like a nightmare to schedule because so many things were happening at the very end
For
of the
sure.
year. But I'm really
Yeah.
happy that you're on our first one here at 2025.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to be here too. And if you got a few more months, I was going to bring up that one gig I helped you book there in a crowd of 40,000 people on the South Quad in
Oh
a much more
man. Yeah.
politically agreeable time,
Yeah.
opening up for Barack Obama.
That
That
was
was another great
insane.
memory. Yeah,
Really, really appreciate the help with
yeah,
that. Um,
that was a wild night.
and juxtaposed to that, as we're doing this interview, I just saw that the incoming president is he's reinvesting in the effort to purchase Greenland
Yeah,
and Panama. So
might be invading them
yeah,
militarily. I don't
so
know. It's
so,
all on the table. Who knows?
so there you go,
What
folks.
a what a
Hang in
crazy
there.
time. But here we are.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, yeah. Best of luck in 2025. Hope to see
that's
you all out there.
that's totally normal. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it was great. It was great to talk to you. Great to see old friends, and now that you got this cool project, I think we'll be seeing each other a lot more shows
absolutely.
coming up. So
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time out, and I'd love for folks to check out all your stuff. So we will link it here in the description below.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
Truman Kennedy.
yeah, John Henry.
Good seeing you, brother.
Later, man.
Take care.
You too.
Truman Kennedy, really interesting guy, really interesting music. I hope you enjoyed that. Coming up here in a few weeks on January the 28th, we have Jeremy Albino with Benjamin Dakota Rogers at the Golden Record. This is an insane bill. Jeremy Albino is nuts, and support Benjamin Dakota Rogers is also nuts. It's a really, really cool bill. I'd highly recommend that. Check out some of the video we posted on our socials. And that's at the Golden Record, as I said. Thank you for listening to episode 26 of the Backstage at Open Highway Podcast.